internet, all of you. Hi, welcome. We're streaming again. We're carrying on with the experiment. We are creating a wrapper that can go in front of an ASP.NET application, whether it be web forms or old ASP.NET MVC, whatever it might be. And we are sticking an ASP.NET Core application with a reverse proxy built into it in front of the old application, and then we're using that to replace one page at a time. And it's going very well so far. We have created a thing that shares session between the old service and the new service. So that's a component that goes in the old service that provides an API endpoint that can get values out of session and put them and return them over an API, and then a session provider in the new application that can talk to that API, and so the two things can share session. And we've also done the same thing with authentication, and the front end, the wrapper, can talk to the back end and say, hey, give me the currently logged in user, here are all the cookies that you need, and it serializes a claims principle. So there's a couple of things I want to take a look at today, and the first one is about redirects. We have got our Wingtip Toys application, which is an old web forms sample application, and this is what we are wrapping in our ASP.NET Core application. And this takes a while. There you go. So that's Wingtip Toys, and then we've got our Facade that runs in front of that. That displays alternative pages. So I'm just going to run this in here like this, and then once that's running, that should pop up in here as well. So you can see here we got localhost 5001, and so this is our Facade application. So you can tell which one we're in because the Facade one says Wingtip Toys 2 and the original one just says Wingtip Toys. And this all works really well at the moment. So if I go to log in here and I log in, and my username is admin and my password is $PA$WORD, typed that wrong, $PA$WORD. There we go, and now we have an admin page. But there is an issue here where this has redirected me back to 2409. And what I want to do is when the front end, I'm going to open up the developer tools here for a second. And I'm going to go to application and cookies, and we're just going to clear all of those because we don't want that to be happening there. And so if I go to Wingtip Toys here and just go to the 5001 thing here, and if I go to admin there, I get this 401 error. And this is where I was when we stopped last week, because this needs to be doing a redirect to say I want to go to this place. And so what I had done was I had created this Facade authentication handler. So this is an ASP.NET Core authentication handler that just hooks into ASP.NET Core's really nice pre-written, you don't have to do any of this stuff, and if you just inherit from their things, then Barry Dorrans won't come round your house and beat you to death with a copy of ASP.NET Security for Beginners. So what we need to do in here is there's a challenge that we need to override, and so we can say override handle challenge async, and then in here we can say so this handler object has a request object that it can talk to do interesting things with it, and a response object. And so we can say response dot status code, and we want to do a redirect, http status code dot redirect. So I think probably a 302 there. It's definitely not a permanent redirect, and I don't know what temporary redirect is. So we're just going to say 302 and response.headers location equals, and the login page is, if I just refresh this, it should be logged out again now because I haven't got, there we go. So the login page is account/login. So we're going to say account/login, except we want a return URL on there. So the back end thing has got a return URL to say, when you're done, come back to this page here. And so we can actually, we can say relative URI equals request dot get encoded path and query. And I don't know why this says encoded path and query, because it's not. It is just, it's not encoded. If we zoom through to the source here, you can see that this just passes on to build relative, and build relative just says get the so do that request.path base, request.path, and request.query string, and so this comes through to here, and then it combines them all together. So it's not URI encoding these. I can't put these into a URI string. So I'm going to say URI encode. What's URL encoder dot encode? And that's doing really complicated things. So we say URI dot escape data string. So var escaped equals URI dot escape data string relative URI, and then we can say question mark and then return URL equals escaped. So that now, when we get that 401, we should instead get this 302 and redirect us to account/login. Okay, so we're here and we go to there, and that hasn't worked. So let's set a breakpoint on there, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to do this. So relative URI. Oh, I've seemed to have. So response.status code is 302. Location is that, but if I step into here, right, don't do that. Return task.completed task, like so. So that will now set our status code to 302, set the location with a return URL, and this is definitely going to work now. So go to admin, there we go, taken us to the login page. Return URL is admin/admin page. Username is admin, $WORD, and then we can just carry on there, and that's taken me through to my admin page. Excellent. So now we're doing the redirect to the login page. Now, the issue that we still have with this, and this is a slightly funky one, is I'm going to go to here and I'm going to clear all the cookies for localhost 501. I'm going to go back into here, and we've got our admin controller in here. So this is the thing that's picking up our admin page and re-rendering it using ASP.NET Core and creating a lovely new administrator experience with all the benefits that you get from using ASP.NET Core. Now, if I take that out, then and run this again, then everything will be fine. It will continue to work, except it will be going to the old admin/admin page. And if you do that and you're not logged in, then the back end takes care of the redirect, and something really rather annoying happens. So you see we've gone to localhost 24019, because when it did the redirect, the location thing that came back was fully qualified, so it was an absolute URI. And in this instance, it doesn't matter because I'm going to be going to a new admin page, but we need to put in something that says if the backend does a redirect and that redirect is an absolute URI, then we want to intercept that and do something funky with it. And I did do some digging into the proxy server code, the Microsoft.reverse proxy. Over the weekend, I took a look around it, and I don't know if it's possible to use the proxy configuration to say, hey, apply this modification to a location header. And honestly, by the way, today's mug is Stitch. Yeah, I don't know if you can do it with a proxy, but honestly, it's actually really quite simple, because everything is part of the ASP.NET Core, the Kestrel pipeline. So we've got our app builder here, and we can just put middleware in here. And so we can put, we've got this, so you can see this here. This is obviously where I was messing about with this and trying to do something. So this is coming through here, and then I'm going to set a breakpoint in this, and we'll rerun it. And we'll go to admin there like that, and that hits this breakpoint. So we've got context.response is a default HTTP response, and that's a 200. And then we've got this response here, which has got these headers. So a default HTTP response. So this has got our 302. So this is doing the redirect. And then the headers has got location http ://localhost :24019. So this is trying to redirect us. And so here, location 0 does start with that. And so host is localhost. So context.response.headers now. If I go into here, go to results and go to location, has not let me change that on the way through, and I do not know why. So let's stop that, and I'm just going to so our response header, no, so new location, apply rename refactoring. Let's just run this and we'll set a breakpoint here. And we'll go to admin, so new location, https://localhost. So if I do that, exception, headers are read-only, response has already started. Well, that's not good. So I can't do this here. Arg! Okay, let's just continue that, and we'll go back to here, and we'll do this again. So context.response has started is true. Why is it true? So obviously the proxy has already started writing something into it, and I need to sort that out. Okay, fine. Let's go Microsoft, or YARP, isn't it? YARP proxy. API documentation. Reverse proxy middleware. Reverse proxy feature. Reverse proxy service. What's an HTTP transformer? Used to create derived instances. Transform request async. Transform response async. A callback that is invoked when the proxied response is received. The status code and reason phrase will be copied to the HTTP context.response before the callback is invoked, but may still be modified there. The headers will be copied to HTTP context.response.headers by the base implementation. Okay. So let's go to the Github repository and let's clone this and see if we can figure out where we can I have already cloned it. grab the latest version of this, and there we go, rider reverse proxy.sln. Oh, there's a version that runs in Service Fabric. That'll be super helpful. I mean, I suppose it could be. Right. So, if I look for HTTP transformer, and just wait while rider catches up with this, so we can find out where it's used from. So transform request async, transform response async is there. Copy response headers. So let's find out where this is used from. We've got a custom transformer here, which does something interesting. Okay. So we got our iHTTP proxy here. This looks like it is doing something right. Okay. So rather than just saying map HTTP proxy or however that was working in here, map reverse proxy, if you want to customize it, you can do this stuff here, create a custom transformer, create your own request options, and then use this endpoint.map here. So let's pull that off to a different screen, and then I'm going to create an internal class address transformer. Hang on. Redirect transformer, which is going to inherit from HTTP transformer. Which it can't find. So it's definitely there. Microsoft.reverseproxy.service.proxy.http transformer. Have I got an old version which doesn't have this in? Let's pull this across here. What's going on? Dependencies, manage NuGet packages. Microsoft reverse proxy pre-release. There is a preview 8. Let's update to that. There we go. That makes sense now. I've timed this really well, if that wasn't there before. And then in here I can override transform response async. make that async and await base.transform response async. And then what I want to do is, let's just change that to just be called context. I've got my response message there. Grab this and put it there. Just change the name of this to response. Response.headers dot try get values. Inconsistent naming. So, are we supposed to work with the request message? So here's our startup. Here's our custom transformer is here, and it looks like we work with what's there. So let's go back into Facade, response.headers. If response.headers.location is not null, let's just say location equals response.headers.location.toString. And then here, we can say response.headers.location equals new URI, not due, like so. Let's change that there. Location URI like that. Now I suspect we probably want to be putting, it's fine, we can debug this, we can step debug through it, because that's how we do everything. I'm gonna grab this out and put it there, and then so the other code here in startup, we've got that there. And so we'll just, this becomes redirect transformer. We can get rid of all of that code because that's not going to do me any good. And then we can just copy in. So we've got this iHTTP proxy can be injected into here now. Because that's registered. So iHTTP proxy, HTTP proxy, and then this HTTP client is being used down here. So let's grab the configuration for that as well. One thing I really like about Rider, by the way, and about all JetBrains IDEs, once you've loaded up one instance, the engine for it, the sort of big load of Java stuff that it loads in to run the user interface, and the ReSharper backend because we're doing .NET and that's how it does .NET. But because technically it's all one instance, even though you've got multiple windows open, is that the Vim plugin, the buffer for Vim, I can't remember what you're actually supposed to call it, but like when you do yank 5 lines or delete 5 lines or whatever it is, the buffer is persistent across all your sessions, which in 90% of cases is what I want, and in about 5% of cases is what I definitely don't want, and in the other 5% I'm doing remedial maths. Okay, so we have a HTTP client, and then we are going to grab this, and we're going to go down to here, and we're going to replace map reverse proxy with that. And we're going to, that's interesting, so that's not saying that it meant, but never mind. And we don't know why it's doing that, because it's not doing anything there anyway. So I am just going to, I'm going to comment that out for the time being. This is really weird. I don't like this. Those can go up there. Get rid of that code there. So we've got a timeout of 100 seconds and a version of null. And in here, we can just say endpoints.map. Okay, so this should work. I'm going to set a breakpoint in here. So, okay, so the proxy generally is working. And if I now go to admin, page isn't working, localhost is currently unable to handle this request. Why are you currently unable to handle this request? About? My proxy has stopped working. So I got this here. Reload. Okay. And we got an exception. No connection could be made because the target... Oh, I've... Stupid. When you're copying and pasting code from sample applications, remember to change the URL. You stupid boy. Okay. So that's there. We got that breakpoint set there. And so now that we're proxying through to the right place, and we go to admin, and we've got response.headers.location here. Well, that's just weird. And account/login is not working. That's not found, which is fine. Yes, it shouldn't be found. Admin. Okay. Let's just open up DevTools here and go to network, and we'll disable cache, and then we're going to go like Q. And why is that just flat out not working? Let's go here and close tabs to the right. Right. So if I go to localhost 5001/account/login, that's fine. So if I go to localhost account/login return URL equals, let's just take that off there and do that. And that's fine. So let's put %2 and do that. And it's working now. And also, for reasons that I cannot begin to understand, it's stopped redirecting me. So if I go back to there like that, and then I go to admin, hang on. That's doing http:// Okay. Stop that. So somehow that is... You go away. And we're going to run you again. So it's losing the HTTPS. It's no longer losing the location, it's lost the HTTPS. Basically what I want to do here is, where's my immediate window? Is this my immediate window? So response dot headers dot location dot make relative URI, and with this, if I just put new URI, request, no, context dot request dot location URI has not been created yet. So location URI dot absolute path is account/login, and dot path and query is there. So that's what we want. So basically I think what I want to do here is say just change that thing, because location URI dot scheme is HTTP and context dot request dot scheme is HTTPS. And location URI dot host is localhost, and dot port is port, and context dot request dot host is all of that. Dot okay, so for some reason it's coming back and it's not. Let's just take this and we will say var relative equals response dot headers dot location dot path and query, and then we can say response.headers.location equals new URI relative and URI kind dot relative. And then that will basically just say, you know what, we're gonna take the host name off this, like so. Don't worry, when I turn this into a NuGet package, I promise I'm going to make it so much more valid. This page isn't working. Okay. So let's go back to here, and we'll do this, and we'll go to admin. So response, where's my locals window gone? It's here, response. It's got the request message in there. And we've got our headers, and we've got our results. And we've got a server in there which says Microsoft IIS 10, which is interesting. So that has definitely been set to the right thing. So if I now continue that on, but it's still not doing the right thing here, because this is still open up the thing there, preserve log, disable cache, go back to here, go to admin, hit that. There's my dev tools. Admin page returned a 302, and the location still somehow got set to http://localhost:5001. And I have no idea why. Why have you done that? Let's just in here put https://localhost:5001 plus, like that, and rerun this again. And go to admin, and we'll just open up the dev tools for this. And oh no, that's not going to work because I've got URI kind in there, so that needs to be absolute. Run again and pop up in here. DevTools, network monitoring, admin, admin page returned a 302, and location has come back as HTTP. So what are you doing? Response headers is doing that. Copy response headers here. Oh, okay, I think I'm doing this in the wrong order. Let's try putting it down there. And run this again. Admin. There we go! We did it! And that means if it was just because I was doing it in the wrong order, then I should be able to take this out and just put relative on there and run this again. And go to admin. That's brilliant. Then I can log in here, p at $WRD, and log in. This operation is not supported for a relative URI. So relative equals response.headers.location.path and query. So here we can say question mark dot is absolute URI so we'll only do this if it's an absolute URI, because apparently you can't get path and query off a relative URI, and we don't want to do that anyway because we don't care about that stuff. And so then here, let's run this yet again. Trial and error, trial and error. We do love us some trial and error. Admin $WRD. Yay! And we have finally solved this issue here. Excellent. I'm happy. Are you happy? If you're sort of following along and stuff, if you have a Twitch account, please do sort of call things out in the chat and call me an idiot and talk to me. It's supposed to be like an interactive process, so please do join in with things. So we've got that in there now. And we've got a bunch of other stuff, and so now I can go from this and I can just go back to my controllers and I can break this out again, and we can go back to here and run this again. And then just refresh this page here and we get our nice new one, which is already logged in because we were still logged in from the last time. And apparently I've got something in my cart, except that is not what we want. So that link's obviously just very wrong. Shopping cart. That's interesting. Why does cart off admin do that, but it doesn't off there? I have no idea. How peculiar. I go to admin, contact does contact, about does about, products does products, but cart, for some reason, is going to the wrong place. So let's go to cart here. Nope. It's not right there either. But if I go to about, then it is right. So that cart link is not working properly in my ASP.NET Core code. I don't know why. And let's do remove item and update. And that's gone from there. And this is all good. We're going to have to do something bad about this at some point because I am not hooking up a PayPal account just for the purposes of a Twitch stream. How's the audio, by the way? I gave up, and for the first 4 streams I was trying to use, I've got this incredibly expensive and swanky, let's get that to somewhere you can see it. So this is a Rode Podcaster USB, and whenever I watch other people doing Twitch streaming, they're always doing these things. And see, you're all sitting there nicely, quietly watching me, and I'm sitting in front of the code. And I've been sitting in front of the code for an hour, and nobody's like popped a message into the chat to say, Mark, you're sitting in front of the code. We can't see a goddamn thing. But yeah, it was not on purpose. It was entirely stupidity. But no, I've got the very, very expensive microphone which you're supposed to have, which I've got for sort of recording videos and doing podcasts and that sort of stuff. And it's a massive pain. I watch other Twitch streamers and they're doing this, and they've got their fancy microphone with their shock mounts and their pop filters and everything, and it's just sitting in front of them here. And it's been driving me nuts trying to work like that, because you're just trying to work around it and it's in the way. I've got guide to my desk. I have got a monitor here, which is right in front of me. That's my big 28-inch monitor. And then down there's the little monitor, and that's actually the one that I'm working on while I'm talking to you. And it's a 12-inch 1080p monitor, and it works really well when you're broadcasting video and stuff, because I've set the DPI higher on it, and it's roughly the same size to me down there as it would be in the window if you're watching it in Twitch, or as it would be on an iPad if you were watching full screen on an iPad or another tablet. And so it makes sure that everything is the right size and visible to you. And then I've got another screen sort of over that way and another screen over that way. And then if you've got the podcaster mic, you've got wires and booms and Lord knows what else. So I just went, I don't care what other streamers do. I'm just gonna get a decent-ish headset. So this is just a Logitech H390, I think, that I picked up last week, which according to all the reviews has got the best kind of noise cancelling microphone and stuff. So I hope the audio's okay. If it's not, please let me know, and I will see if I can do something about it, because all I get here is that my voice is basically bouncing around in the yellow. So I think it's probably okay. Anyway, so is there anything else I wanted to do in here? I don't think so. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start breaking these components out into a separate project in this solution, which will be the first step on the way to productizing this. By productizing, I mean creating NuGet packages. So it's open source going to be MIT or Apache 2 or some kind of license like that. I'm going to break the components out inside the solution and do fun things with them, and then turn those into NuGet packages in the future. What I do need, if anybody out there is any good at naming things, I would love suggestions for the name, because I've been calling it Facade, but Facade has a meaning in terms of sort of patterns and things, and according to the Gang of Four, a facade is an interface that you put around something to improve the user experience. It sort of makes sense in this context, but it sort of doesn't, because it's not a, we're gradually replacing the thing. And so I've been trying to think of a better name for something where you're gradually replacing the thing behind it. It's like if you had a house and your house was falling down and you thought, I need a new house, but, excuse me, I need a house, but I need somewhere to live while I'm building a new house. So you carry on living in your old house that's falling down and has no floors and all this sort of stuff, and you build a whole new house around the outside of it, and then you kind of knock bits through and build the floors and all that sort of thing, possibly. And it's really hard to Google, is there a word for all of that? Is there a word for when you build a house around your old rubbish house so that you still have somewhere to live? And Google goes, you've exceeded the length of a question. And I asked Alexa, and she didn't know. And I can't ask Siri because I don't have a microphone on my Mac. I got my M1 Mac Mini turned up yesterday. That's nice. It is very, very fast at everything except installing Xcode. When you're installing Xcode, there's a point where it gets stuck at like 11.57 gigabytes and it says it's installing, and then it stops doing anything for 2 hours, and then you come back, and it was really weird because I was kind of like, has it got stuck? And I went off to check, and on apple.stackexchange.com there was somebody who went, no, it's just really, really slow. I've just done it and it's stuck at 11.57 gigabytes. And this was like left 3 days ago or something. Really, really weird. But apart from that, it's really quite brilliant. It's running. I ran Rider on it, which does not have an M1 build yet. They've got M1 builds of almost everything except Rider. The issue is that the back end on Rider is done in .NET 5, and there's no M1 version of .NET 5. So I think they're going to have to wait for .NET 6, which is adding M1 support. Anyway, what were we talking about? Naming. So yes, I need to think of a name for what I'm going to call the NuGet package, and I'm just thinking like facelift, or because facelift is a kind of an architecty term, a buildy term, that sort of thing, or there was cocoon I came up with, or chrysalis, because a cocoon is something that gets wrapped around, usually something quite ugly, and then something happens inside it, and then boom, it bursts out and it's a beautiful butterfly, or possibly a fugly moth, or I'm not a... Is it an entomologist or a is there a lepidopterist? Can you specialise? I want to go and search that now. Lepidopterist. A person who studies or collects butterflies and moths. That's a thing! Wow! What a brilliant job. Anyway, so I was like cocoon or chrysalis. So do either of those spark joy, or facelift, or any other ideas? I just don't know. Please talk to me. I'm so lonely. Anyway, I'm going to find out at the end of this that the audio wasn't working and nothing's been going on, and you've all just been watching the screen with me in silence. But anyway, for the time being, I'm in here. I'm gonna do cd backslash where have I kept this thing? That is in Facade. Cd Facade. So I'm just going to keep calling it Facade dot for the time being, and I'm going to say .NET new class lib -o src .NET new class lib -o src backslash facade dot library stuff. This is the other thing. I don't know whether to put all of this into one NuGet package or to break it down into multiple NuGet packages. My current thinking is put it all in one NuGet package, because a lot of it is not that big. It'll be two NuGet packages, obviously, because there's going to be the NuGet package for the front end, which is going to be the fun one to write, and then there's going to be the NuGet package for the back end, which is going to have to support .NET 4.5, which is going to be less fun to write. .NET sln add src backslash dum dum. I really like using the command line for doing all this kind of stuff. Particularly when you do .NET sln add src backslash, it automatically puts it into the src folder in here, which is actually a virtual folder. If you in Visual Studio do like kind of new project and stuff, it goes into weird places. So here we've got our facade library. No, don't run, that was not what I meant. I want F4, .NET 5.0, and then this one. So I probably want so we're going to have an item group here, and we're going to have a framework reference, csproj framework reference. Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.app. Load failed. Reload project. Nope, doesn't like that now. And that's fine. So I'm just going to put web in here. And why are you not happy? Build. Let's try building that. Program does not contain a static main method. Okay, so I can't use web. So .NET 5.0 framework reference. I'm going to do you are referencing target frameworks in SDK style projects. Does anybody know how you create change SDK of your Blazor project dependency to Microsoft.net.SDK.Razor? Framework reference was not recognized like that. You are referencing. You should limit the references in the shared project to packages that don't try to pull the ASP.NET Core shared framework. Right, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to manage NuGet packages, and we're going to go Microsoft.reverse_proxy, and we're going to add that into here, and then we're going to build this, and then we are going to start to pull things across from here. So services, let's create a new directory, and we'll put session in here, and then we can copy Facade session and paste it into here, and we need to add the reference to message pack, and we can add that in there as well. And we'll change that namespace to the right thing. So that's good. And then over here, so we've got up here, we've got HTTP context accessor, and Facade session is using that. Is that why we've got it in there? Yes, it is. So we're going to create an extension thing in here as well. So we're going to say public static class Facade session extensions, and public static iService collection add Facade session this iService collection services. And in there we are just going to add these two things here, and then return services, and we'll move that out of there and move it into its own class name there. And then if we go to here and check the source code for this, so this goes into Microsoft.extensions.dependency injection. So I'm going to grab that line there, and I'm going to do the same thing here. And we'll just add disable once with comment there, so that ReSharper doesn't look at that. And then we can add a reference to library stuff over here, and we can go to here and do services.add Facade session and take those two lines out, like that, which is brilliant and fun, and we like that very much. And that should still work. Delete that. Shopping cart is going to import that from there, and controllers, home controller, we're going to get that in there as well. And then if we run this, and go to products, and got the old time car, which is added to the cart. And now if we go back to home, that's still working, which means the session things are still working, which means everything is fine and dandy, and I'm a happy programmer. Hurrah for being a happy programmer. Okay, let's stop this, and I'm going to do something really weird now, and remember to do a git check-in, because it's been a while. So git add dot, that's fine. Move session into library, and let's just do a git push on there. And that's now up on GitHub, so you can grab that, and we can start looking at moving the other stuff across. So if I create another directory in here called Authentication, and we can copy those things across here like that. And then do adjust namespaces. Why is that not showing anything there? Just build that. Refactor, adjust namespaces. Next. Okay, so it did it, but the preview didn't work. Dear JetBrains. Okay. We can move Facade authentication options across there as well, which has got backend URL in it. And then let's go to here, and we'll just move that into somewhere else. And then we can move across Facade authentication handler like so. And then we can start to fix some of the issues in here, because we are doing bad things in this code. We are creating a new HTTP client every time we go to do the authentication, and we really don't want to do that. What we want to do is have some extension methods in here, so that we can say add Facade authentication to services, and so if we have a public static class Facade authentication extensions. Now where we really want this if we go to our startup class here, let's close everything else down, is we've got this add authentication. We've got an authentication builder here. Returns an authentication builder, and then that's got interesting stuff inside it. And then we do this add scheme. So what I really want is services.addAuthentication.add facade. So if we go back to here and we say public static, what does this return? It returns the authentication builder again. Authentication builder add facade, this authentication builder. And builder has got, so we've got services in there, so we can register services, and so here we want to do this sort of thing. So I'm going to dump that into Facade authentication extensions there. So our Facade authentication handler is using an HTTP client, and what we actually want to do is register an HTTP client so that it can be pulled and you can use the same HTTP client over and over again, and not keep closing and reopening the socket, which will massively improve performance. It'll basically just open a socket to the back-end server and then run authentication against it. We are going to wrap a whole bunch of this stuff up in a wrapper class, and then we're going to register that using HTTP client. So public class authentication client, and this is going to have a private read-only HTTP client HTTP, which is going to be initialized from the constructor like so. And then in our extensions we can say builder.services.add HTTP client, and we are going to HTTP client authentication client, and then what have we got here? And we've got service provider and HTTP client, so we can configure the client there. Oh no, don't do that. This provider client and then we can say var options equals provider.get required service options, or get monitor, just because it's the one that they say you should use these days. Facade authentication options, like so. And then we can say if options dot current value dot backend URL. So then we can say client dot base address equals options dot current value dot backend URL. Like so. Put our return builder down there. And then we can say builder.add scheme let's just go and grab this from here. So grab those lines there. Options, options, options. I don't think, no, we can actually just ignore this now because we're getting our base address up there, which was what facade authentication options was for, like so. And then we can say builder dot add, no, builder dot services dot add options, facade authentication options dot configure dot bind configuration. And that's just going to be facade authentication. And then we can have validate O to O dot, so URL URI dot trypass O dot backend URL URI kind, so it should be absolute, and we don't care, we're just going to say out underscore. So this is going to bind our options to our configuration, so we can specify the backend URL, and if it's not a valid URI, then the validation is going to fail. Options builder validate func string failure message. So probably want to put a failure message in there because it's very nice to do that for people. Backend URL, sorry, facade authentication backend URL is not set. So now if someone uses our library and doesn't put that in, then it'll say you need to put this into your configuration, otherwise stuff is just not going to work, and no soup for you. That's a very 90s reference. Why am I quoting Seinfeld? I don't know. Who knows? So we're validating that there, and then we're adding an authentication client. So now I want to copy this stuff out of here. And I want to pass the request in from there, well, let's just copy this code out of here and we'll put it into our authentication client. You can go into your own class and we'll say public async task claims principal, which is going to potentially be null. Authenticate async, and we'll put all of this into here and we'll just import missing references, and then we are going to have so if we go back to the handler and request is HTTP request rename to request, change that to request message, that can be renamed to request. This has an underscore stuck in front of it. Like so. And we're going to just return authenticate result out of here. Authenticate result. And let's just public static class Facade authentication defaults. This is just complete cargo cult programming here because I see a lot of people do this. Public const string scheme equals facade. And then this can be facade authentication defaults.scheme, which means I can put it into here, facade authentication defaults.scheme. Import missing references in file so that that comes out of there. We're going to create an iLogger authentication client, logger header here, and we will introduce a read-only field there, which is logger, and then we can just change this to underscore logger.logerror. And then all we need from our authentication handler is our deserialize async, which goes down there. And this should be all we need. So it's if response.is success status code, otherwise return no result. Do the fail thing there. Authenticate async. So now in our handler, I think, so we need that. So we're just going to add in Authentication client, and we'll introduce a read-only field for that. And then we can say return await underscore client dot authenticate async and pass the request in there like so. So there we go, nice bit of refactoring on that. So that looks good. Let's just clean up our unused directives. We'll move that into a nice file like that. And in our Facade authentication extensions, we're going to do builder.service, so we'll add the options in there, so that should work. So in our authentication client, we've got our things coming in there, so our extensions there. So if we go back to here, and in our app settings.development.json, we've got Facade authentication backend URL is that. In our Facade session, we've got our base address there. We should pull that out into options as well, but for the time being, let's just services.add authentication facade.add facade, like so. And we can change this to Facade authentication defaults.scheme, so that now looks just like I was using one of the built-in Microsoft ones, which is awesome. And then what I'm going to want to do next is to wrap this stuff up. And we'll do something with that as well. So let's go to here and here, and then we're just going to go add a directory, and we'll call this proxy. And then we're going to create a static class in here called Facade Proxy Extensions, and make this static, and public static. And in startup here, so this endpoint is an I endpoint root builder, map facade proxy, this I endpoint root builder dot, so we have a service provider in there. So we can actually clean this up a lot. So let's go back to startup, and we're going to grab these lines from here, and we'll just drop those in here. And where's our redirect transformer gone? Alright, you can come out of there and go into a separate thing, and then we'll copy you in, we'll move you into proxy over there. And then we're just going to move you to the right namespace. Add our return builder at the bottom there. And then we can say var http proxy equals builder dot service provider dot get required service HTTP proxy, like so, and then import missing references. Just do a quick format on that. Rename that because I like having these things look consistent. And then we have map facade proxy. So we'll just keep add reverse proxy up there. But down here we will say endpoints dot map facade proxy, like so, and we'll get rid of that code there, and we can just comment out that code there because we don't need that anymore, which means we can take out that HTTP proxy line there. Right, so we've got add facade session, add authentication, add facade, which we're configuring all on the back end, add reverse proxy because we are still just adding the Microsoft reverse proxy, and we'll just document that they have to do that. Endpoints.map facade proxy should take care of that. If I now run this, and we'll find out what things I've done completely very wrong indeed and why it is not going to work. No, it is going to work. Oh my goodness, and it's still doing the cart, and it's still got me authenticated, and if I go to admin, I am still authenticated. That was probably the most successful refactoring I think I've ever done in my entire life, to drag all that stuff across there, and I've cleaned everything up an enormous amount, and I'm now doing the right thing with the HTTP client, and this all makes me extremely happy. So that's it. I'm going to stop. I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. Yeah, really happy with that. So I'm going to be back on Thursday, same time, 7 o'clock UK time, or UTC as it is at the moment, because we're on GMT at the moment here in the UK. And on Thursday, I think I'm going to look at doing a similar thing to what I've just done, but on the back end, and breaking that stuff out into a NuGet package for .NET 4.5. And that'll be a library in that solution. And then once I come up with a brilliant name for this, whether Cocoon or Chrysalis or Facelift or whatever it might be, then I can sort of yank it out and put them into a separate solution, and there will be a stream where I sort of NuGet packagize them and probably play with GitHub actions, so that when I do a push to main on the Facade repository, then it will create updated NuGet packages for me. But yes, on Thursday, so 2 days, we'll do the back-end NuGet package, and we'll also start to add some optimizations into both of those, and use that as a way to improve things, because the back-end right now, it's using message pack serializer if you're to serialize a string. And I think obviously the better way to do that is to say encoding.utf8.get bytes on the string and stuff. So we'll start looking at ways that we can pass that information across in a better way. And for things like primitive values, so ints, you can use bitconverter.get bytes and so forth. So that's what we're going to do on Thursday. That was great. Thank you for joining me and sitting patiently while I floundered around like a buffoon Really appreciate it. Tell your friends, give us a follow if you haven't already, and I will hope to see you on Thursday. Thank you very much. Bye.